Hi, I'm Crive, and with this video I want to give interested people an overview of what's happening in the alpha, the changes that we're getting, what's being added, what new talents we're getting, but also what is being taken away. For example, this week we got Renewing Blaze removed, and we got the shield that we are getting from our rescue removed, among other changes. I want to talk about the impact that those changes have, what we are missing now, like what we lost out on, but also what we gained and how that's changing our gameplay. To get some context, right now we are in phase 2 of the alpha, so that were the changes that we got this week, and last week the whole alpha actually started, so we got like the whole overhaul of our talents and the way our class played, and now we got some small iterations. That's the context of the changes this week. Now let's actually go over the blue post. We see here at the top some changes to Devastation, but they're also affecting us because they're also working for the Flame Shaper hero talent tree that is also affecting us, and that is that Consume Flame now causes Disintegrate to consume 2 seconds of Fire Breath, and it was 0.6 seconds before. So that's a direct buff to our Disintegrate damage in combination with Fire Breath for Flame Shaper. Then regarding the class tree, the developers are pointing out that they're unhappy with Rescue being used for its Absorb effect. They want to keep Rescue as solely movement ability where you can reposition your party members. So they're taking away and redesigning the Twin Guardian talent, and instead the talent now gives us 100% movement speed, like to us and the person that we rescued, and allows them and us to cast while moving for 3 seconds, which is quite a nice change. I bet that you have been critiqued by your fellow party members when you rescued them, and they told you, you interrupted my cast spell, please don't rescue me again. Now that won't be an issue anymore. They might even be happy that they can now cast while moving. One more change that we're seeing here is that they are taking away Renewing Blaze as part of the general defensive pruning that is happening to all the classes, not just us. And they're baking it into our obsidian scales now, but they're also changing the effect slightly. The new effect is that when you now talent into Renewing Blaze, that every time you press obsidian scales, you're now getting Renewing Blaze, which is quite a nice change since you can get Renewing Blaze more often now, since you have 2 charges of obsidian scales. But the effect is changed. Instead of healing back all the damage you take during the active effect of Renewing Blaze, you're now only healing back the damage that is being prevented by obsidian scales. I'm giving you an example here. Obsidian scales, you press obsidian scales and then a boss does 100 damage. 30% of the damage is being prevented because obsidian scales is 30% damage reduction. So now you're only healing back the 30 damage of the 100 damage over the next 8 seconds. We're also seeing a new talent being added regarding our Deep Breath, and that talent allows us to stagger 100% of the damage that we would take during Dream Breath, and it's dealt to us over the course of 10 seconds. This has new implications for Deep Breath because Deep Breath is now acting as a defensive for us. Whenever there's a one-shot or a soak, we can actually solo that soak, or we can survive the one-shot by using Deep Breath and having the damage that we would take be staggered over the course of 10 seconds. There's also a new talent being added called Strike from Above, and what it does is it increases our glide speed and our hover height by 20%. Then we are also having the change of multiple changes, having changed multiple talents, having changed positions in our class tree. We don't know what they look like yet because they have not been introduced into the alpha. The other changes have been introduced, but this last change here is not yet in the alpha, so we can't know how the talent positions have changed. Another change they did was to remove the Fire Within talent, and the Fire Within talent was this talent right here where you could choose between Foci of Life and the Fire Within. That was the talent that reduced the cooldown of Renewing Blaze by 30 seconds. It has been removed since Renewing Blaze is now also removed. There's also a new change to the Preservation Evoker spec tree, and that is that Call of Viscera has been redesigned. Before, we always had to press our Verdant Embrace to get the Call of Viscera buff, but now they removed this effect. Now it's a passive talent where it just buffs Dream Breath healing by 25% and also buffs Living Flame healing by 50%. I quite like this change personally because it was always annoying to me to press Verdant Embrace just to buff my Dream Breath or to buff my next Living Flame. I feel like it's quite a nice change because now I can finally use my Verdant Embrace for a Lifeline combo or for the single target healing that it provides. There has also been data mined changes that are not in the official blue post yet, and that's that Verdant Embrace, the new talent that enhances Verdant Embrace. It's called Wings of Liberty. What it does is that when you press Verdant Embrace, you can now use Verdant Embrace up to 2 additional times within 3 seconds. They buffed this. Now you can actually use it 2 additional times within 5 seconds. There's also one change that's quite nice for Flame Shaper, and that's regarding the legacy of the Lifebinder talent. That's the talent here at the top. Before, it would only give us 1 additional charge of Dream Breath, but now it's also giving 1 additional charge of Fire Breath. I want to quickly talk about the implications now of these changes that we saw with for the alpha, and that's mostly regarding our defensives. You can see the defensives we have available as Chrono Warden in the Within at the moment, and that scales. That's Renewing Blaze, that's the Hover, that's the Rescue Shield, Zephyr, and the Hover. And with Hover, I mean the talent here, Temporality, where Warp reduces our damage taken by 20%. And now going forward, they are really pushing Flame Shaper hard with their changes. They really want to make us play Flame Shaper by giving us this extra Fire Breath charge, by buffing the damage we do with Consume Flame, and by providing other enhancements. So now we will basically not play Chrono Warden anymore, and we will, because of this, lose the Hover defensive. We will also lose the Rescue Shield, as you saw with the changes in this alpha, and they also took away the Renewing Blaze from us. So now we're only being left with Obsidian Scales and Zephyr, but they're adding the Deep Breath change. So now, compared to before, we basically lost 3 defensives, but gained 1 new defensive. But in comparison to those defensives, they were all quite short cooldown. Renewing Blaze was 1.5 minutes. This was 1 minute cooldown, and Hover, as you know, is like around like 20-25 seconds cooldown. Deep Breath is 2 minutes cooldown. So now we have less defensive capabilities, and they're also longer cooldown. Regarding our DPS, you saw that most of our DPS was actually coming from Fire Breath and Living Flame. That's a breakdown of a 20 halls I played. And as you can see, most of our damage, Fire Breath, Living Flame, a bit Disintegrate, a bit Chrono Flame, and then Deep Breath. But the priority is changing now that we're playing on Flame Shaper. We have the second charge of Fire Breath, and we also have all the Flame Shaper talents enhancing Fire Breath. Like Fire Breath's dot does 30% more damage, the dot of Fire Breath is ticking more often, the dot lasts longer, Fire Breath has 5 seconds less cooldown. Those are all new talents for Flame Shaper that have been introduced, and this puts like way more emphasis on Fire Breath. Then we also see more emphasis on Disintegrate compared to Living Flame, because Living Flame was actually enhanced by Chrono Flame with the Chrono Warden tree, and it was also enhanced by Life Force Mender, which we played before, but now this emphasis is being taken away and it's shifting towards Disintegrate, because this Flame Shaper Disintegrate now consumes Fire Breath. Other than that, Deep Breath is still our least important damage spell that stays this way. They also buffed our Azo Strike by 100%, but since Azo Strike is not generating Essence Burst, it's not that important. We still will only press it as a filler when we have to walk or to pull mobs. Also, our healing is changing a lot. You see that before the emphasis was mostly on Lifebind combos, and that's what I'm showing right now. It's basically Echo plus Verdant Embrace plus Spirit Bloom, that was our bread and butter Lifebind combo, and we often combined this. Instead of a Spirit Bloom, we used our Emerald Communion, or we would sometimes use our Renewing Blaze, and now this is all going away. They're like moving away from Lifebind because it was a very timing sensitive combo. If you used your lifebind combo, or like if you set it up too early and someone would take damage, then you had to interrupt your combo, heal that person up, and then set up your lifebind combo anew. And if you were too late, then your group would die because you were too late with your combo. So that made this combo quite punishing, and that's one of the reasons they're moving away towards the playstyle more around pressing Dream Breath and then just consuming the Dream Breath with Consume Flame, with Emerald Blossom for AoE healing, or Burden Embrace for single target healing. What we're also seeing with the alpha changes, especially now in phase 2, is an emphasis on our core class identity, which is that we are a healer that's basing their gameplay mostly on our position in regard to the group. Before, our positional gameplay didn't matter as much because we had our focus on Spirit Bloom, but now by shifting the way that we play around Dream Breath, we are again now incentivized to focus more on our positioning, and they're enhancing our capabilities in this regard by giving us the talent where we can Burden Embrace 3 times, so we're very mobile. They're also putting emphasis on Rescue being moved solely as a movement spell. They're also enhancing our Glide by giving us this new Glide talent, where Glide speed is increased by 20% and Glide height also increased by 20%. So that's quite interesting. So they're focusing more on providing us with this core class identity of being this mobile healer that is like flying around and also caring a lot about his position in regard to other players. All in all, I'm quite happy with the changes, and I still have some feedback for the developers regarding my wishes for Lifebind. I feel like Lifebind is such a unique mechanic in World of Warcraft for Preservation Evoker, and I still want to keep it alive. I see that they are trying to keep it alive with the Wings of Liberty talent, where you can Burden Embrace 3 people in a row and have a pseudo Lifebind combo in this way. But my wish would that they would keep alive a proper Lifebind combo. I saw they changed Lifebind in the first alpha build by making Lifebind 60% now instead of 40%, but I would suggest that they actually reduce it back to 40%, but make the Lifebind longer. Make it 7 seconds, make it 10 seconds. This way, we can still do a proper Lifebind window with the Wings of Liberty talent. One other issue I have with Preservation Evoker right now is that we don't bring any damage buff to the group, and that's like a property of a healer that is quite important for many M+ groups. For example, right now in the season 3 that we're playing, the healers that are meta are Shaman and Restoration Druid, and the main reason why they're actually being brought is their raid buffs. They're a Mark of the Wild or the Shaman buff that are increasing the group's throughput regarding damage. And other healers are also bringing offensive buffs, like Priest bringing PI, or the Mistweaver bringing the physical damage taking increased buff. And we are one of the only healers, or one of the few healers together with Paladin, that don't really bring any effect that's enhancing the group damage. But that's what DPS players are looking for when they're inviting a healer to a group. And I wish that we would get a raid buff or some kind of like enhancing effect that we could give to one DPS player, so that DPS players, when they are choosing a healer to invite to their party, would see Preservation Evoker, and in their mind they would see, oh, if I bring this healer, I'm actually increasing my own damage in some kind of way, and that would incentivize to invite them. Apart from their ability to heal the group and keep the group alive. Closing this video, I'm quite happy with the way that Preservation Evoker is being developed for the Midnight expansion, and I'm curious to see what further changes are coming in the next week. And of course, I'm going to make a new video next week about the changes, so feel free to subscribe to stay updated on the alpha changes that are coming in the coming weeks.